You're listening to the Life Coaching Secrets Podcast, episode number 44. Did you know that life coaches are needed now more than ever? I'm Frank Macri, founder of Thriving Coach Academy. I've trained over 1,000 coaches and helped them launch their own successful coaching businesses. If you want to make an incredible income and impact as a coach and have a lot of fun doing it, I'll show you exactly how to get it done. This is Life Coaching Secrets. What's up, coaches? In this episode, I'm going to share with you what to do when you have a client that says, "I don't know," in response to a question you might ask them in a session. Now, I know that this can be a little bit of a curveball for a lot of coaches. When you have a powerful question, you ask it to your clients, but your client is struggling to come up with some kind of answer, or they just say, "I don't know." And what I've seen happen when this occurs is coaches get very flustered. They don't know where to go from there, and they don't know how to respond when a client says, "I don't know," in response to a question. So I'm going to dive right in and give you 5 amazing approaches and strategies that you can take when a client says, "I don't know," so that you can keep your session moving forward and also get the insight that's there. Because when a client says, "I don't know," it usually is an indication that they are so close to what could become their next breakthrough. So if you've ever gotten lost, or if you've ever shut down a bit when your client has said, "I don't know," then this episode's going to be super helpful for you. So the first thing I want to talk about is the sentence, "I don't know." Let's look at that for a moment here. So whenever your client says, "I don't know," to a question that you ask them, it doesn't actually mean they don't know the answer. So you don't want to take the "I don't know" as at face value, because it's never true. It's just a sentence that their brain is producing, right? So if your client says, "I don't know," you don't need to hear "I don't know," right? What you could hear is, "Okay, we're going to figure it out. Okay, they're uncovering it. They're exploring it. Let's see how we could go a little bit deeper." Now, one way that you can practice this yourself is looking at your own life, right? When someone asks you a question, how often do you respond with "I don't know"? Because sometimes by default, when someone asks us something, maybe it's a question we never considered before, or it's a challenging question, we just say, "I don't know." So how many times do you notice that the sentence "I don't know" zips through your own mind? Because you want to start reframing those experiences. So when you have the thought "I don't know" come up, you realize, first of all, it's just a thought, right? I'm thinking that I don't know. That's the thought I'm having. And then you want to reframe it for yourself. So that way you can say, it's not that I don't know, it's that I'm figuring it out. It's not that I don't know, it's that I'm figuring it out. Okay? When we have the sentence "I don't know," all it does is create doubt and confusion. So "I don't know" gets us nowhere in life, right? Whenever you pursue anything new in your life, you're not going to know how to accomplish that goal, right? Of course you don't know, because it's new, right? If you're looking to start a coaching business and you are struggling to really dive in because you don't know how it's going to happen, well, of course you don't know, because you haven't achieved it yet. You haven't created it yet, right? If you want to make $1 million and you think, "Well, I don't know how to make $1 million," of course, because you haven't done it before. So you have to tell your brain, "I'm figuring it out. Like, I'm learning how to make $1 million. I'm uncovering ways to make $1 million." Okay? So it's not about needing to know. It's just about having the certainty that you're going to get there. The "I'm figuring it out" thought instead of the "I don't know." When you have this, when you start approaching new possibilities and opportunities with this attitude, you'll realize that you always have access to all of the wisdom and insight you could ever need. It's just that you have to unlock that part of your brain that might be telling you otherwise, okay? So you might wonder, why then do we say, "I don't know," right? If really everything's figure outable, if really we're just learning and figuring things out as we go, then why do we even say "I don't know"? Well, one of the main reasons is because it's very safe and comfortable to say "I don't know." It doesn't require any effort to putting, coming up with solutions whenever we say, I don't know. It's like the brain's way of just turning off if we just say, well, I don't know. Another reason why someone might say, I don't know, is just as a default response. It's just what they've conditioned themselves to respond to certain questions with, okay? So you want to understand this for moments in a coaching session when your client might say, I don't know, you're not having any kind of reaction to that and thinking like something's gone wrong, okay? And there's also a hidden benefit when people say, I don't know, because whenever you say, I don't know, you don't have to risk anything. You don't have to risk any type of failure, any type of judgment, okay? So there's no perceived risk when someone says, I don't know. So I want to now give you 5 really amazing and very simple approaches you can take if you're in a coaching session and your client says, I don't know. So for example, right, just to paint a picture a little bit, maybe your client is, looking to explore a new career option and they're just not satisfied in their current career. They're feeling drained, frustrated. They can't wait for the weekend to come. They know that something's off, right? So you might ask them the question, well, what's stopping you from quitting your job, right? Or what is it that if you could have it your way, like what would be the most meaningful career you could have? So you might ask them an empowering question and their response might be, I don't know. I don't know. So where do you go with that, right? So here are the 5 approaches. Number 1, I call it the silent approach. So the silent approach is when you don't respond at all. You wait for the client to calmly for the client to answer the question. You just give them a little bit more time. You hold some more space. I have an episode called Holding Space. So if you struggle to allow silence in your sessions, go listen to my episode called Holding Space, because most of the time, if you let the client lean into the question a little bit more, give it some air to breathe, they will surface up some insight, okay? So if a client says, I don't know, you could just say, okay, take your time. Let me know when you've thought of something. And then you zip the lip, right? Even if it takes a good 30 seconds, that might feel like so much longer, but your client will start to surface some ideas and new thoughts that have been buried in all of their fears. It's just been buried. It's not that they don't know, they just have to access it again. So that's the first approach. It's the silent approach, okay? The second approach is called the guessing game, So this is when you tell your client that there's really no right or wrong answer, okay? Because sometimes when people are asked a question, they think that this is a classroom where there's a right or a wrong, or that you're looking for a correct answer, and they're afraid of giving an incorrect answer. And even if you don't have that, maybe there's no reason why your client would think that based off of who you are, but it might just be their previous experience where whenever they've been asked questions, they think there's a right answer that they're expected to give. So sometimes when you ask a question and the client says, I don't know, you can say, okay, remember, there's no right or wrong. If you didn't need to know, what would you guess the answer could be? Right? So let me say that one more time. When the client says, I don't know, right, they have this idea like they need to know the right answer. So they might think that there's an incorrect or a correct version of it. So what you're doing is you're removing the needing to know and you're replacing it with the invitation to guess. So it softens up the question so they feel more willing to explore and try on a new solution, to try on a new thought, to share something they might be uncomfortable to share without thinking there's a lot of risk on the line. So client says, I don't know. You say, okay, well, remember, there's no right or wrong. So if you didn't need to know, what could you guess the answer might be? What could you guess? Okay, so this will soften up the client's space to come up with some solutions that they weren't previously able to access. So that's called the guessing game. It's super fun to do that with a client. You'll notice right away they're going to start guessing. And if once they start, you say, great, what else could you guess the answer might be? Because when you think of the word guess, right, there's no risk when you're just guessing. There's no risk at all. Okay, so the client makes so much more available to them when you use the word guess. Okay, the third approach that you can take when you ask a question, the client says, I don't know. I call this the head to heart approach. The head to heart approach. Okay, so when you ask a client something, they say, I don't know, they might be caught up in their head trying to logically figure out an answer, okay? So they might be getting caught up in their brain, overthinking, overanalyzing, overprocessing. And what you want to do is bring the client out of their head and into their heart and their gut. Okay, so if there's really three sources in our body where we generate answers, it's our head, our heart, and our gut. And your client might be coming, especially if it's a more logical oriented question, a logical person, someone who's mostly approaching decisions from the place of what makes sense, what's the logical thing to do, right? They might think that there's a black or white and there's no gray or in between. So what you want to do is use the head to heart approach to get them out of their head and into their heart and even into their gut. Okay, so if you ask the question, they say, I don't know, you say, okay, well, what do you feel the answer could be? What do you feel the answer could be? Or what does your gut tell you the answer could be? So mentioning the word feel is going to bring their awareness to their heart, okay? They're going to bring their awareness to their heart and they're going to start looking there for answers because their head is probably not helping them. They probably have too much going on there. And then when you ask, what does your gut tell you? It's going to bring their awareness to their gut. Okay, so you don't want to ask those questions together because that would be stacking. Okay, you don't want to stack multiple questions together. Just start out with one. What do you feel is the answer? What is your heart telling you the answer may be? What does your gut tell you? Okay, so what is your heart telling you? What do you feel the answer could be? Those are questions oriented around the heart. And then what is your gut telling you? Or what do you sense the answer could be? Those are questions that are all about the gut and their intuition, okay? So that's the head to heart approach. Now, the fourth approach to take when a client says, I don't know, I call this the getting real approach. Getting real, okay? So this approach is very simple. All you do is you ask the client, what's underneath the I don't know? What's underneath the I don't know? Okay. Sometimes the I don't know is a mask. Okay. It's a barrier they are putting up to prevent themselves from really sharing the truth. Okay. So the getting real approach is just cutting deep, saying, what is underneath the I don't know? What's really going on here? Okay, so that's the getting real approach. It really allows the session to get real. It brings up the things they might be holding back saying, what maybe their truest fears are or their deeper concerns are. And all of those things are the things that they would most benefit from getting coaching on, okay? And then the fifth approach you can use when a client responds with I don't know is I call this the secret answer approach, the secret answer approach. So the way this one sounds is you would say, client, if you secretly knew the answer and no one at all, not me, not you or anyone else could judge you or make assumptions, what would it be? What would it be? If you secretly knew the answer and no one, not me, not you or anyone else could judge you or make any assumptions, what would it be? So this is the secret answer approach. This is really powerful, especially if your client might struggle with putting themselves at the effect of other people's opinions. So they're really worried that they're going to let other people down, or, they are really affected when other people have judgment or criticism of them. The secret answer approach is about, let's just make it a secret. If we just assumed that, no one could judge you at all, what would you say the answer is? So it gets them to really tune in to their truth, their desires that they might feel a little bit guilty or uncomfortable expressing. So those are 5 very simple, extremely powerful approaches to use with clients when they say, I don't know in a session, okay? Remember, do not accept I don't know at face value. That's an opportunity for you to dig deeper and really uncover the truth of what's going on. All right, that's what I got in this episode on how to respond to a client when they say, I don't know. Thanks for listening. I'll see you in the next one. Hey, would you like access to powerful coaching tools you can use on yourself and clients right away? For being a listener of the podcast, I'm giving you a VIP guest pass to get a sneak peek into my coach training program. Inside, you'll learn our coaches' secret tool they use to transform their clients' lives. And you'll also get a training on how to launch a coaching business. Just head over to www.thrivingcoachacademy.com/VIP to get started. I'll see you on the inside.